Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, thank you for being here. Happy New Year. And welcome to Executive Director Extravaganza California Nevada Chat of January 12, 2024. We have four executive directors on the call today and one director of public affairs. But since the director of public affairs is Craig Kessler, it's probably a fair fight. The 4-on-1 is a good ratio for us. My name is Len Dumas, Executive Director for the Northern California PGA, and on behalf of ourselves and President Eric Lippert and our colleagues, Executive Director, CEO Nikki Gatch, and President Eric Lohman of the Southern California PGA, we're glad you're here to start off our new year. And thanks to Steve Monday, Shelby Zell, Bryce Seaver for keeping us going month after month at this point. And this morning, we thank our guests for joining us. Joe Houston, Executive Director of the Northern California Golf Association. Good morning, Joe. And Mike Kelly, Executive Director of the Southern California Golf Association. And of course, Craig Kessler, Director of Public Affairs for the Southern California Golf Association. And as we move in to the new year, you know, it's that time, a shout out to all the section award winners, both Northern California and Southern California. It's always humbling when we do go to our president's dinners to hear the accomplishments of these PGA members who just work selflessly and tirelessly to grow the game of golf. To Todd Kiefer and Ashley Marseille, the respective golf professionals of the year, congratulations for that honor, well-deserved, of course. And before we go any further, some opening remarks from Southern California PGA Executive Director Nikki Gatch. Nikki?
Thank you, Lynn, and good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. This is our first California Nevada chat of the new year, so excited to kick this off. Lynn, thanks for recognizing our award winners. We do have another special announcement. We're super proud of Michael Block capturing his second PGA Player of the Year, consecutive years in 22 and 23. Obviously, Michael had a phenomenal year last year, and we're super proud of him representing our section and representing our association and all that he does. He's our second PGA of America Player of the Year from our section, along with Jeff Freeman back in the 90s, and the first to do it in back-to-back years. So super proud of Michael. We're going to see him at some tour events coming up at the Amex out in the desert, and then the Farmers out in San Diego. So we wish him well there. Lynn talked about sort of the history of the chats, and we wanted to take this opportunity, since it is our first of the year, to, Lynn and I were reflecting yesterday about this and how we're approaching 4 years of doing this. When this started out in March of 2020, when COVID hit, we both started these webinars in our respective sections and then quickly said, what are we doing? Why are we not doing this together? We always try to do things together when we can. So I know here in Southern California, we started as the SCPJ member chat. March 20th was our first event. With that, we were trying to navigate our way through all of these online virtual tools. I don't believe we started with Zoom. I don't even remember what we used, maybe Google Meet, but we were navigating through that. Bryce, thank you for that. So then we transitioned and became the California PGA chat. And then, of course, we didn't want to forget our friends, brothers and sisters in Nevada as part of the Northern California section. So we quickly morphed into the California Nevada PGA chat. And as you can see, the first one was March 30th that we did together. And we've done 56 of these chats over the last almost 4 years. And I know we started doing these twice a week. I believe it was Mondays and Fridays, and just giving updates to everybody, as we were trying to get our golf courses open and, sort of navigating our way through this global pandemic and how it was affecting our industry and our golf professionals and our golfers. And, we've had guests on from anywhere from, doctors, those in the medical field to help us navigate. We've had lawyers, we've had folks to help with navigating unemployment benefits and PPE benefits for golf courses, and all of these things that was just such new, territory for all of us. And so we're super grateful. And And we've had some wonderful guests outside of that as we sort of morphed out of COVID. And, huge thank you to Tom Addis for arranging a lot of our wonderful guests. We've had CEOs of PGA, USGA. We've had celebrities like Vince Gill. It's just sort of been across the board, and it's just been a lot of fun. It's certainly fun to do this with Lynn. We continue to see great attendance, so we're going to keep doing this as long as our members see value and keep joining us. Over the time, our average is 90 views, and then of course we get a lot of views after the fact on YouTube as well. As you can see, over 2,000 views. And then to wrap up, just a final thank you to Craig Kessler. Craig, I think you've been on almost everyone, if not everyone, always helping us, not only navigate through COVID and all that brought on, but helping us navigate everything that goes on in our industry and could potentially affect our industry with your advocacy efforts. So just a special thank you to you for making the time to do this and join us and keep us all informed. So thanks so much. That's it. We just wanted to give a quick snapshot of the history of the chat.
Thanks, Nikki. Time just goes too quickly. Hard to believe it's been that long, but here we are, which is great. And thanks, as you mentioned, to all the people that helped us, particularly when we started doing two a week, Friday, Monday, holy mackerel. We would call people in last minute, can you join us in an hour? And as you said, all industries, as we tried to did the best we could with the moving targets of legislation and the moving targets of the different opinions of the health officials, the county health officials, and how the counties were doing things differently, and on and on and on and on. So kudos, as we have said over the years, to everyone, all our members and associates and allied partners, for following the rules and allowing us to get open and stay open, because we were legitimately the only game in town for those first few months in 2020, and grateful we are. So, okay, awesome. So as we mentioned, we have our guests, Joe Houston and Mike Kelly, both the executive directors of the Northern and Southern Golf Association. So a little bit before we turn it over to Joe, we are involved with each other. We're grateful. Nikki and I talked yesterday about that we have strong relationships with both associations, it's not necessarily the norm around the country, and that we look at this as California golf, not Northern California golf and Southern California golf. And there are many levels that we do this. Obviously, as golf organizations, we all are on the California. We are members of the California Alliance for Golf, so we keep our heads up about legislation and visit Sacramento. Mike came up last year to visit Sacramento on Capitol Day for us to get to know everybody. We have Junior Tour that we share with the Northern California Golf Association Cup matches, which are everywhere, and then general programming and discussions all the time about how can we just continue in all cases to serve our members and grow the game, provide more access for tournament players, provide more access for those looking to learn the game, and on and on. So this is a multi-layered relationship that we're very, very grateful for. So thanks to everyone for working through the times that we work through. So Joe, let's start with you. Joe Houston joined the NCGA in 2014. Joe, hard to believe, 9 years already, right? And really successfully navigated everything since then. We've had highs and lows and craziness, and now we seem to be back to what we call the new norm. So Joe, welcome. Thank you for being here. And then a little bit more about you, and then what has happened over those 9 years in terms of Northern California golf, the NCGA, and dealing with changing board members and the changing environment.
Well, good. Well, thank you, Len, and thank you, Nikki. It's great to be here and to be part of the webinar. This is great. I really enjoy being able to reach out, and I think the great thing about golf is that together, all of us together, we're stronger when we're together than we are all independent. And so this is great. The partnership we have with the PGA sections, the golf course owners, the superintendents, all the facilities is critically important to us. I think together we can do a lot better. So A little bit about my background. You said I'm going on almost my 10th year. We'll hit my 10th year anniversary at the NCGA this year, and boy, it's gone fast. Prior to that, I grew up in Iowa, in the Midwest, and played golf as far as I can remember walking. I probably picked up a club when I was 3. I was out hitting and putting when I was 4. In a little town in Iowa, there wasn't much to do. But there was a wonderful, outstanding head golf professional at our course, a guy named Bob Moreland, and really helped shape my life. And that's why I really like to engage with you guys at the PGA. Really helped set a lot of values about the game and just how you work. I worked for him from I was 9 until I was 21. Probably shouldn't tell the state labor law that, but it was great. So I love the game of golf. Played competitively. Was pretty good in high school. I played a couple of years at the University of Notre Dame. Pretty mediocre in college, and I knew I wasn't going to make a career, but always have an incredible passion for the game. And I had a career in business, general management, a lot of it in marketing. Procter & Gamble and Chiquita brands. Had an opportunity to live overseas, but about 16, 17 years ago, had an opportunity to relocate into the Monterey County area and just fell in love with this place. Never believed that I actually maybe even get to come and visit here, let alone get to live here. So yeah, once I moved out here with my previous company, I started to think about how could I put roots down into Monterey, and had just a wonderful opportunity to come into this organization at the NCGA. So that's kind of how I got here, and it's been a great journey. Just really enjoyed it, and the people in the golf industry, and to be able to combine my personal passion for the game with my business experience, and being able to work with such great people, is just doesn't feel like work. Some days it does, of course, but it doesn't always feel like work. Really proud of what this team has done. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I got here. As Len asked, what's kind of changed over the last 9 years, and a lot. But I'll tell you, I've always kind of viewed this as that it's a journey, it's not a sprint, and if you really want to go far, you go far by working together. And if some people say you go fast, you can do it alone, but that's not what we've tried to do. So, but if we look at what has happened in the game of golf, now we had things out of our control that were horrible, but helped the game, right? With changes in with pandemic, but of course, people getting to work more from home and flexible work environments helped us. But I think all of us were prepared. We've actually seen our membership grow over 50% in the last 9 years. And a lot of that, over half of that, well over half, 70% of that growth came before COVID. We were prepared also to work more together. We went through a unification with the 2 women's golf associations in Northern California, which has been wonderful because we had a lot of women in our association, and obviously they did in theirs. But now together, the whole theme that together we are stronger, together we're better. And we've really been able to focus on the growth of the women's game, and add more competitions, but also more trips, social opportunities, different discounts, and that has been great. The other area that we've seen a lot of growth and has been an area of attention has been with our Youth on Course program and the Junior Tour of Northern California, packaged together as a junior program. But Youth on Course and the PGA group, I know, has been very supportive to give kids access for $5 or less. Wonderful. We have seen now membership grow nationally and actually internationally to up over about 200,000. We have about 35,000 members now in Northern California. We help subsidize and reimburse golf courses for those rounds. So even in Northern California, we have reimbursed last year almost $1.2 million in revenue gone out to all the facilities to support that. But what's more important than that is that 4.5 hours that those kids get on a golf course, that it's probably what's sparked the passion in all of us. And for us to be able to help enable that with our foundation with Youth on Course is tremendous. And there's mentoring and opportunities within that. And the other side is on the golf courses. If you go back 9 years, so NCGA, we're pretty fortunate. We have 2 owned and operated golf courses, Poppy Hills here at Pebble Beach and Poppy Ridge in Livermore. Poppy Hills went through a major renovation that just reopened 9 years ago. Fantastic Robert Trent Jones redesign off of his original Robert Trent Jones Jr. design. And we're doing really well here. We're able to offer lower rates to members and reinvest back into the game. The same thing at Poppy Ridge, a Reese Jones design, 27 holes, but really excited that this year we are going to be breaking ground and doing a major renovation where we're going to have an 18-hole outstanding championship course that'll be friendly for all types of players, but we'll also have another 9 holes that'll be shorter, enjoyable again for all types of players and going out for kids and beginners to even anyone that wants to go out and have a good time. So A lot has gone on. I think we're a lot stronger as an association because we work well with all the associations across California and the USGA. And on top of that, well, we can go into rules changes, handicapping changes, course rating changes, but a lot's changed, I think, for the better. But yeah, we still got a long way to go. So it's been a fun journey.
Yeah. Joe, thank you for all that. And let's talk a little bit about the scale of the NCGA, so everyone knows, the total membership and the activities. Obviously, a lot of tournament work, but there's more than just that. There's more than just that. And if you would, we're both member-driven organizations, right? And what are the requests from the members that come and the support that is received? So a little bit about the structure of the NCGA, please.
Great question. So the NCGA, as you mentioned, is a membership organization, and we're also primarily club-based. So we have reached a total membership of 220,000 memberships, over 200,000 individual members. And again, back 9 years ago, we've grown 50% from there. We have about 1,350 golf clubs, of which about 400 are golf facilities. So there also are social groups of clubs that form together that become members of the NCGA as a club, and they also will kind of resell or sell memberships through that. We also provide memberships direct through the NCGA and what's called the NE Club. A big foundation of what we do is the partnership with the USGA. We're not a formal entity of the USGA, but we have a very strong partnership where we perform governance activities for the USGA. That includes the rating of the golf courses for course rating, the governance and execution of a handicapping system, which is a great thing where, as you guys know, the professionals can play with a high less skilled player and have a match that comes down to the last hole, and that's wonderful. We do provide education of rules of golf and help with amateur status, equipment standards. We provide a lot of governance in that area and execution, where the USGA will provide the actual rules. We help execute on a local level. And a lot of that comes in partnership with the NCPGA and the clubs. The golf professionals is so important to us because you guys are on the front line directly with your members, which are oftentimes our members as well. And we share that. And to the extent we can help our golf clubs and golf professionals, that's big. Another area of the NCGA, as you mentioned, is a tournament and event program. We were really founded 120 years ago, 1901, to help start and put teams into competitions. And so we have a very formal championship program, but we've expanded that where we have more single day events. We have recreational events, club-based programs, team events, single day outings at different facilities. We also do trips domestically and internationally. That's really important. And these are important that we do it for scratch players, for net players, team, men, women, juniors, and beyond. We also have a big junior program. I mentioned Youth on Course already, which is fantastic, but the Junior Tour of Northern California is something we're really proud of. It's a partnership, as many of you know, with the NCPGA, where we brought our junior programs together to really develop kids. And so that's a big focus of ours to get kids into, whether it's a developmental tournament, but really also at the most elite level to prepare them. And so, as you guys know, many of the tour players have come out of this junior program, which is really a feather in our cap to help prepare them. I'd also then say there's a whole other area around member communications, and that gets into not just information or magazine and web information to have some news about the game of golf locally and beyond, but also providing discounts and access to playing opportunities to our members. And with that, we do provide education seminars, teaching rules of golf, teaching different things about the game. We don't get into the area of instruction. That's really where the NCPGA shines, and the SCPGA shines in that area. And then last, I mentioned the golf courses. That's our other area of kind of what we focus on, is providing member discounts and access to our golf courses to provide opportunities for clubs to come play tournaments, but also individual everyday play.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And to that point, we have Jerry Stewart, right? Jerry's media for the Northern California Golf Association, was our NCPGA Sports Media Award recipient this year, and that was the second time for Jerry. And then we do have PGA members on staff at the NCGA, just enforcing and reinforcing the relationship. So, Joe, the not necessarily one of the elephants in the room, but let's talk ball rollback, right, for a little bit, and your feelings on that, and in terms of the game, and what are we looking forward to this or not looking forward to this?
Great question. You know, and a lot of our role is to take the direction from the USGA and help with governance and instituting that policy. You know, I'm personally a bit mixed. You know, I think there's a lot of enjoyment of the game that comes from hitting it a certain distance, but I also do recognize over time that golf courses are becoming less challenging on a distance basis. And even when we look at our own golf course at Poppy Ridge, you know, how far back do we build tees? We looked at one initial design that was going to be able to pull that back to 7,800 yards. And we started thinking, what's the extra turf we have to put in for that and irrigation? And so, you know, and most of that's not for the everyday player. So I can also see that, you know, for the everyday player, we want the game to be enjoyable. Our approach, we want more players, more people to enjoy the game more and have more fun on the golf course. And so that's where I'm personally a bit mixed on the rulebook. Now, at the end of the day, our job is to help enforce, you know, what is going to be the guideline. And also, I think what the USGA has been trying to do is be collaborative for these rules changes with the, you know, we go back many years with the grooves and then the putter length and the driver length and the ball. So providing a comment period and trying to do something to set it out far enough that gives people and manufacturers the time to make an adjustment. But I'll tell you what we're trying to do is to make sure the game can be more fun. And so when we're looking at our own golf courses and we recommend to other golf facilities, making sure you have forward tees in place. So, you know, I do think I'm losing distance as I'm getting older. I'm 52. I'm going to be going the other way, and with a ball that doesn't go as far, is it challenging? But what will I do? I'm going to move up a set of tees when I, you know. So regardless of what happens with the ball, so I think we can manage it, and I think we can also manage it through not just us with the clubs, with the pros, to just to get people playing the right tees and making sure that when we do redesign and design golf courses, that they are enjoyable for everyday players, but can be challenging for elite players. And I think that's what's more important than it is exactly whether a ball flies 3 or 4% less than it was going to a few years ago, right? But that's my point of view. I'm mixed, but you know, at the end of the day, is to support the game, we'll support the policy that comes through. And I think with that is let's get people playing the tees that are most enjoyable for them, and that's, you know, step up the tee sometimes. That's the case.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. You know, we forget what trauma we've been through. We forgot all about the grooves until it was brought up the other day. And then Callaway, I'm not sure if Big Bertha was the first big-headed driver, but then we went through that and we move on. So
yeah, we had the ERC driver and right. I still have my square groove Ping I2 lob wedge and sand wedge I can pull out, but they're too offset. You know, I love my Bokies. So.
Yeah, but we did, you know, we do get through it, as you say, Joe, and then we move on.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so Tim McKeever. Tim, thank you. Ray, the rollback was golf less fun in the 90s? No, distance is always relative. Yeah, thank you. Tim, thanks for the comment. Joe, thank you. Thanks for joining us this morning. Again, really appreciate the years of being partners in this, and we've got some work ahead of us. As a matter of fact, we have a call next Friday to run down many of the items that you just spoke about. And good luck with the renovation at Poppy Ridge. We had a drive, chip, and putt out there this last summer. It's last summer now, right? And Brett and Mike and the team were just tremendous. So thanks for that, and we'll just carry on together.
Yes, we will. Yeah, well, we got a lot of work to do, but yeah, we will. We're going to keep focused on growing the game, grow with public golfers, grow with women, and let's get people enjoying the game even more. So thanks, Len. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Okay, now to the other California.
We'll head south. Thanks, Joe, very much. Appreciate it. Mike Kelly, first of all, welcome. I know we introduced you. You're our newbie, our rookie, if you will.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of being able to serve with you your first 7 months, as I was honorary president of the SCGA. So it was great, and it's been wonderful to get to know you and, you know, already start to work together. Why don't you quickly give us sort of a background of yourself and sort of your journey in golf?
I'd love to. First of all, thank you for including me and esteemed panel here. Joe is incredible leader in the game. We're lucky to have him in California. Spent some time with him. It's not hard to convince me to go up to Monterey. So he's fantastic, and so is everybody else on this call. So I was also included in I think one previous chat, which was fun. So I think I might have covered my background, but I'll do it again. And just a little bit of where I'm coming from and how I landed in Southern California. As you may or may not know, I'm maybe you pick it up in my accent or not, but I am from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, north of the border, and it's I've been in golf pretty much my whole life. I think it's my family is incredibly important to me. Obviously, making a move to Southern California is not a decision you make on your own. And I have two kids. My daughter's in 8th grade and son's in 10th grade. And my wife is, as most would say, if they know me, I married up. So it's she's awesome, and the family's doing really well down here, which is really good. As I am a proud PGA member, I have been a Class A member of the PGA since just 2003, I think. Yeah, so 2003. So I worked on the club side for the first half of my career in the game, right from the back shop, right up to being an associate professional. It never got to be the HP, but and then I started a program called Golf in Schools. So it was an opportunity to introduce the game. I recognized that that the sport wasn't being taught early on, and along with volleyball or basketball or any of those sports, we all have opportunities to participate in. And I thought that was a great opportunity for the game for me, and I had family that were involved in the educational system in Ontario. So that program was fantastic, and gave me the opportunity to work with a number of PGA professionals. It's amazing the intersection with the PGA and everything I've ever done in the sport, and rolling that out across the country, and eventually the association Golf Ontario wanted to do that and bring me on board. So that's how I moved over to the association side, and it's been an awesome ride. I was at Golf Ontario for 17 years. I was CEO there for 7, and I get asked quite a bit in terms of why I went to Southern California, and I mean, the obvious answer is, especially this time of year, there's no snow. So that I'll give you the obvious answer. But the real answer is, I get attracted to opportunities to have an impact, and the staff and board and volunteers, everybody in the game here in Southern California are just amazing people to start with, and really motivated by the mission. And I think that's what motivates me is, get up every morning and wanting to leave the game in a better place. And it's such a privilege to have an opportunity to do that, and to work with these amazing leaders that are on the call today, but other members of the California Alliance for Golf. But at the end of the day, to me, this comes down to the people. It comes down to the people you're working with, and whether that's at the club level, association level, doesn't matter. We all know how important our people are. The people are the product. The people that service our members, and investing in them and working alongside them is an honor. And the biggest reason I came to Southern California was just to work with an amazing group of people, an association that's one of the bigger ones in the U.S., along with the NCGA, and just what a great opportunity for me and my family, to continue that journey. And I'm really, really happy that my first 10 months in the job, which has flown by, have been a ton of fun, and just can't wait to continue working with everybody and all of our clubs and members to really grow the game in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I know you've, you really did hit the ground running, and I can say that because I witnessed it firsthand, being so connected to the SCGA. But you wanted to share just a couple minutes on your Vision 2028 for the SCGA?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, it was, we put together so my first staff meeting. So let me just ground you in how this all started. So my first staff meeting, and if anybody knows me, I like to think big and have meaningful moments together as a staff group, and really ensure that was priority number one was, to build relationships with our team, work together, and think about how we can have an impact long-term with the game, because they've the SCGA and anybody associated with the SCGA has just had such a meaningful impact in a number of ways on the game. They've always been innovators, so we certainly want to continue to do that. But we brought everybody to the Coliseum, and this is not meant to be a plug for USC, because trust me, we ensured that we visited the Rose Bowl a little later on, and but it was we brought everybody in just to respectfully turn the page, and we called it the New Frontier, and we want to respect and continue the great work of the people that came before us, because the SCGA and the game was here before us and it'll be here after us. And our job is to advance the sport just like everybody else had previously. So the question is, what are we going to do? And my approach that I believe, in my experience, that is what makes it successful and achievable and sustainable is that it has to be something that's shared, that we buy in together, that's accountable together, that takes in the account and perspective of everybody involved in the organization. So we kind of went on an 8-month journey that was focused on internally with our teammates, externally with our community, our partners, which include a number of people here today, but also looking at the future and where do we want to be, as we put it, 5 years from now when the Olympic Games start in LA, where do we want to be? What do we say? What would we like to say at that moment in terms of where we are? And I think that requires a collective effort. This isn't about the SCGA. We want to play a meaningful role in the golf ecosystem in terms of where and the areas we need to invest in collectively to really move the game forward. So, obviously in my first 10 months, there's a slightly large event called the US Open that happened at LACC, which was amazing. Blessed that was, 3 months into the gig. So that was an amazing opportunity to really just be together with our teammates. Obviously there's a lot more going on, and great opportunity to build relationships with the USGA, which is an important partner of ours. But personally, is more about our teammates being together and helping to playing a small role, such a major event. So teammate impact was in their role in creating a vision for the future is really important. We did reach out, actually, Nikki, as you know, to a number of our stakeholders, just asking them really 2 simple questions. It was, what are some of the things we're going to face in the next 5 years, 5-10 years that we need to be prepared for? And secondly, what should the SCGA of 2028 look like? So we asked OEMs, we asked PGA professionals, we asked our volunteers, board members, staff, just to get their perspective. And it was amazing to see what we got back. And from there, we created Vision 2028. We've got 4 new pillars, a vision statement of golf for all, and pillars of showcase, community, govern, and advance, which is the SCGA acronym, and some new values that we believe in. But this is just a framework. I think the natural question is, so what are the goals? And we're still working on what those goals and strategies are going to be. But I can tell you this, Nikki, every one of them will require the collective effort of all of our partners. We want to play a role. Some, like anything, some initiatives we will lead. Some will be support. But the PGA will play a role in almost all of them, because that's my experience, and that is what a great recipe is for success in the game. I say that obviously as a proud PGA member, but our job is to help serve the golfer and the people who serve the game every day. Golf is not played at our offices, so our job is to ensure that we're providing value in all the ways we can. And I mean, Craig Kessler is such a great example of that. I mean, it's amazing what he has done for the game, for the clubs. I mean, the collective, and we want to continue doing that. So more to come. There's if you go to our new website, by the way, launched a new website too at our annual meeting at the Rose Bowl. And it turns out, Nikki, that we were in the Alabama dressing room at the end. I've learned that now. So we were in the dressing room for Alabama. I don't know what that means. Hopefully that's not a bad sign, but it was such a cool way to cap off, the first 8 months, I guess, at that point. And I'm just really excited to see what comes next.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you for doing that. It was great for me. That was my final meeting as an SCGA board member and officer. So it was an awesome way to go out, especially with the football theme. You and I, we kind of started this journey together, and we both are following some legends, not only in Southern California, but in the game, with Kevin Heaney and Tom Addis. And, we talk a lot about, and Joe brought it up as well, of how we all need to work together, and I think we have just such a unique relationship that unfortunately isn't the case across the country. That has always baffled me. But I think the relationship, the collaborative nature that we all have, with the Amateur State Association and our PGA sections it's a wonderful thing, and it's only going to be what's best for our game. And I just want to, take the time to credit Kevin and Tom for that, because I really think that they were the ones that created that culture and that environment. And I know you and I have talked many times, and we will continue to carry that torch, and meet frequently and have open discussions between you and I, and between our leadership and our respective teams. So I look forward to that. And, we already do so many great things together. I mean, we've obviously talked about CAG, and, we're the golf community in the state is grateful to the SCGA for sharing Craig with all of us, and all of his efforts, and all that he's has done and will continue to do for CAG. But a couple of other things that our two associations specifically have worked together on. Of course, our honors matches and our women's cup matches, have combined those, and that's every other year, and we look forward to that. The Southern California Junior Amateur we do together, and then of course our SCGA, SCPGA swing tips that has proven to be so successful, and is not only a great benefit for our members and gives them exposure to golfers, but is a great benefit for the SCGA members as well, as everybody's looking to improve their game. So, and I know, we've talked about a lot of other things too that we can potentially do. So I just I appreciate the willingness to continue with this collaborative effort. That was a big word for me during my time with SCGA, and really trying to close any gap that there might have been between the two associations. I think we've done a nice job of that, and we'll continue. So thank you for that. What do you think in your first? I know you haven't quite hit a year yet. That'll be, I can't remember if it was March or April. But what would you say was maybe the biggest challenge that you faced, and what has been maybe the biggest success that you've seen, either you personally or speaking as a team or an association?
Yeah, I mean, let me just echo just a couple of comments that you've made. Number one, I think and I mean this, very sincerely, that you or Nikki, one of the reasons that one of the checks in terms of why I would take this job. And I mean that because, in Ontario, I was a PGA, as you know, I was a member of the PGA board, the zone or section, and our relationship was outstanding. And I did not, and I just, as I said earlier, I know how important that relationship is to growing the game in a real sustainable, collaborative way. And to know the relationship and what Tom and Kevin Heaney did and built prior to us, and knowing you, I knew that this is going to be fun, that we could work together, that you were new. I just thought that was really cool. And so that was a big piece. That was a big piece for me. And I think it's important to know, you said it though, that's not always the case. Actually, it's more often not the case in other areas in the country in North America where that relationship exists between this section and the Golf Association. So I think everybody should be really proud of where that's at and the people that helped get it there. And, and I am absolutely committed to exploring and thinking, proactively how we can continue that, those working relationships and continue to be leaders that way. In terms of a good question. We were just looking at a year-end review in terms of what what have been challenges and what are, for me, challenges are opportunity. That's how I choose to look at them. And to me, it is the challenge and the opportunity is developing a shared vision for the future, and what that looks like. And the challenge is that there's a lot of people involved, and it takes time to get it right. But it is something that is critical to success at any level, is ensuring that everybody is rowing in the same direction. And so it's and I think that is just probably the most important thing, is we all understand where we're going, what success looks like, what are some of our goals, and we're not all the way there, but it is I think an opportunity for us to think big, and take step by step towards those goals. And I think Joe said it really, really well. Something that I have to be very cognizant of, and that is that if you want to go far, you go together. And I think that is a really good principle to live by. But it has been I'd say the one other goal or something anyways that I'm really proud of was this year was just the opportunity to be a part of just the different big events that I've been included in, whether it be the US Open, whether it be your annual meeting, Nikki. I just meeting people and developing that network is really important to me. So there's so many things that have gone on. It's hard for me to quickly pull one or two together, but at the end of the day, to me, it just comes down to the opportunity, the challenge we have as a group, and feel really good. I feel really good about where we are 10 months from now, at least on where all of those groups of people are, and getting to know so many of them.
Great. Well, thanks so much, and congrats on almost a year. And have enjoyed our relationship and our friendship, and look forward to continuing that for many, many years. So thanks for hopping on, Mike, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Nikki.
And Joe, thank you as well. We appreciate it. It's great that we all have this collaborative spirit among us to do what's best for golf in our state. So thank you all for joining us. And with that, speaking of our state and our golf industry, Mr. Kessler, good morning. And again, thanks for joining us, and always joining us. Has there ever been a chat that you've missed?
Yes, and more than one.
Okay, well, gosh.
Yeah, but not.
I'm sure you were pulled away to Sacramento or something.
Might have been pulled away to a golf course, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you so much for always lending us your time and your insight and your expertise. You want to give us a quick update? We've got about 15 minutes left, but if you could really, I know Lynn talked about it earlier. It could have been before we went on live, but talking about the state budget that was just released or proposed, and what's sort of on the docket for this year, what should be priority for our golf professionals and our golfers to be aware of and pay attention to.
Since it's a new year, we're turning the calendar. Sacramento just came back into session. They just got the governor's budget, and the original budget and the final budget won't resemble each other. So I'm not going to go into any great detail, except that everyone knows that we have somewhere between a $35 billion and $70 billion deficit. And so, and the governor is proposing, interestingly, to make his biggest cuts in climate action and some water issues, which is interesting, given the overarching, the nature of both of those issues. What I want to do is give a little bit of a perspective before we really get hot and heavy into the legislation, the regulation, and whatever issues come our way. It's easy in golf. It's probably easy in anything to look at the moment. We all know we have these amazing challenges. Those who read the headlines know that the snowpack, the Sierra snowpack, continues to diminish. And as the climate gets warmer and drier, that's going to continue to happen. We all know the problems with the aridification on the Colorado River, the Rockies, the basin, so that the mechanisms that we built in California for our water and to supply a growing population, and we hope a growing golf population of golf courses and golfers, is declining, and we're having to invest major resources into other forms of water storage, aquifer recharge, stormwater capture, desalination, potable reuse. Those of you who follow these things carefully know that Title 22 of the Water Code has been completely redone to make potable reuse possible. And not far from where I'm speaking right now, the Metropolitan Water District is constructing what is going to be the largest potable reuse factory, really, we think in the world, but certainly the United States. And that's going to crowd out golf's ability to get recycled supply. So we understand that problem. We understand the costs of water going up, the costs of business are going up. Regulatory compliance, a little less so, but still it's on top of the other costs. I think we've become fully aware that that any activity that uses as much contiguous land as we do, and particularly in urban areas, very expensive land, everything and anyone else covets that land, from open space advocates to other recreational advocates, and of course that big one we dealt with in the last few years, housing. And so we understand all those challenges, and sometimes we can get a little bit beaten down by them. And of course, you will always be hearing from me that we're never adequately prepared to deal with them, because you never know what surprise is going to come out of what corner next. And I'll continue to do that. I'll continue to play the role of Cassandra or issue Jeremiads about not being properly prepared. There's another hand to this, though. While we do that, let's not forget that we have actually, in golf in California, in my opinion, and I have a pretty good perspective, I think I have a pretty informed opinion, have been punching above our weight on all these issues for a long period of time. I can speak a little bit more definitively about 2022 in Southern California than Northern California, because water is always much more of a regional issue or local issue than it is a state issue. But we got through yet again. We've been through drought crises in the southern part of the state, the northern part of the state too. And we've come out really looking pretty good. And I would attribute that to the fact that we have a lengthy, many-decade record of working with water districts, explaining what we do, being very transparent and very honest. I think everyone, I actually made a little list that's in front of me instead of speaking in totally extemporaneously today, that we can forget. And I'm just going to name a few issues. Last year's Assembly Bill 1572, where we successfully got golf courses specifically referenced as exempt from the prescriptions on the use of potable water for ornamental turf, because we know, or non-functional turf, we know environmentalists like to refer to us as that, and we know the law says otherwise. But to actually have it in that piece of legislation, which is now in the process of being copied and pasted into all other pieces of legislation and a lot of local ordinances. For those of you who are really sophisticated and know the problems the golf industry's had on a national level with FEMA and other agencies in getting disaster relief, know that since 1977, golf's been bedeviled by being put on what we refer to as a sin list. And that's just been endlessly and mindlessly copied and pasted into the future. That's important. I think everyone remembers, whether it's AB 672 or AB 1910, we thought in a state where housing was the preeminent concern of every voting group, every demographic, every piece of geography, that in supplying hundreds of millions of dollars to redevelop municipal golf courses into housing, we not only knocked those bills back, but we knocked them back early enough in the process that with any luck, even though there are those who continue to want to bring that back, there may be some other elected leaders that felt that they got a little stung by that and might not want to bring it up again. And that was our aim in fighting that thing so strenuously. I could go down other issues. Last year on neonicotinoids, despite what people think about, this is not a superintendent audience, so I realize that a lot of persons probably went over a lot of persons' heads, but it's a substance, a non-organic substance that that golf courses do use, not as much as agriculture. And golf successfully got an exemption for licensed applicators, which we use, just like agriculture. That hasn't happened in other states. I could go glyphosate, in which many American states took an outright ban. We didn't do that in California. We had to fight a little hand-to-hand combat with some local governments, and we won almost all of those fights as well by putting forth the facts. Whether it's the substituting of gas-powered, electric-powered equipment for gas. We did well in the legislation. We're not doing so well at the regulatory level, so we don't win them all. But all in all, and then the many municipal challenges. Kevin Fitzgerald and I, my partner in this public affairs at SCGA, we at any given time have about 17 to 20 what I would call local fights, local communities trying to keep open a struggling municipal course, in many cases increasingly daily fee courses. And one would think that when the property is privately owned, there's really no leverage for the public to weigh in. But stunningly, these things, which a few years ago we were losing some of them, we're winning almost all those battles. And what I'm encouraged by, and I think we're winning them because we've been successful. And we have to understand, we have to also tout our successes. The industry has been successful in coming together to make the case for the fact that golf course you drive by in your community, whether you ever play golf or ever intend to play golf, is an asset to that community. It's an asset to the environment. It's an asset to heat relief. It's an asset to recreation. It's an asset to charitable contribution. It's an asset to a whole lot of things that I think we have put out there. For those of you who remember the LA Times editorial in 2022 arguing that because housing was such an acute problem, that all ideas that might help mitigate the shortage were worth having. All those conversations merited, including AB 1910. It proceeded to say it was a stupid idea, but nonetheless something that should have a conversation, and then proceeded to list about 7 or 8 other areas we ought to look at first before we look at public parkland golf courses. But they, in that Sunday editorial, repeated all the things that we desperately have spent years trying to convey to the public. Municipal golf is $38, less expensive than most other, activities that take discretionary income. They're very diverse places, open places. They made all the positive arguments that we made, and that was one of the conclusions. One of the things that they did to draw the conclusion that it was not a particularly good idea. So what I'm trying to convey is, despite all those challenges, and I sometimes feel that I'm one of those who feels guiltiest about laying out all those challenges, but that's because I'm an optimism. But I define optimism as being able to look right at them. I think it was Mike Kelly who said he regards challenges as opportunities. And I'm an optimist because I believe you can if you lay that challenge out there and look it right in the eye, we can overcome them, we can mitigate them, we can solve them, we can do our problems. If you hide them, you pretend like they don't exist. That's not optimism. And that's not realism either. I think, in my opinion, it's ineffective and sort of foolish. So I also want to convey that we tend to get a little bit panicked. And I'll use a classic example at a national level and something timely this week, because someone somewhere, in this case, some members of the Democratic caucus of the House of Representatives, a couple of years ago, were floating bills or floating ideas that maybe the national government on independent contracting ought to follow the state of California with an ABC rule. I knew at the time that the notion of even getting that out of the House was problematic. But I didn't think you could get 50 votes in the Democratic Senate for that, and you certainly couldn't get 60 votes in the Senate for cloture. So it was simply staking a claim, a position to push their ideas, to push the sort of the middle of the political community towards that direction. Again, we learned on Tuesday that all that panic, the Biden administration's Department of Labor issued a new independent contracting rule. It's about 600 pages if you want some light reading. But the bottom line is it went back to the old totality of circumstances standard that was really promulgated by the US Supreme Court in a series of decisions in the late 1940s. So nothing of the kind in following California. And even if the federal government were to follow California, remember, I'm talking to a lot of professionals, many who are probably working very, very effectively as independent contractors under the legislation that ultimately came out that created a business to business for professional services exception that can allow facility owners to rewrite agreements with golf professionals for whom it is better to work as independent contractors than as employees. If you're detecting a theme in all of this, it's that things end up going a whole lot better than we think. So yes, when something comes across, a shot goes across our bow, we have to take it seriously and respond. But more often than not, when we do that, our responses have been extremely effective in defending, in defending our turf, and literally. As those of you who have listened to these things incessantly or even read some of the stuff that we put out at the SCGA, we have sort of located that there's a common denominator to all of our problems. I kind of go to the shorthand. If it's the land, stupid, but in every respect, whether it's water use, non-organic inputs, the threat of those other communities where they can be recreational that kind of see their vision for the property instead of golf's vision for the property, housing, commercial development, all sorts of things. It's the size of the land, or even the property tax issue for the private clubs. It all comes down to which is, I believe, our greatest existential challenge. We simply cannot do what we do in a home office or in a small corner, or even or anything. We need anywhere from 120 to 200 acres of, and what often turns out to be prime and very, very valuable real estate if it could be used for other purposes. So I guess my final, instead of in the future, I'm sure in the very near future, as the new bills begin to drop, as maybe the new regulations come out, as we know that we get some, or if it stops raining and snowing in California, whatever the thing may be, you'll certainly hear from me about. We have more problems, we have to address it. I may even engage some of you to get involved, to issue your voices where you can be effective. But keep in mind, if we do that, we should be optimistic about our ability to affect outcomes, because we have been affecting outcomes, I think, with a measure of pretty good dexterity in recent years. And it doesn't matter the issue. And again, whether it's glyphosate, whether it's prescriptions on, whether it's making clear in the definitions in California law that golf is a recreational, functional use of turf and is not to be put in the categories of ornamental turf, whether it's the substitution of electric for gas-powered equipment, whether it's the use of certain pesticides and that, glyphosate or neonicotinoids. The irony is that we have done better than a lot of other American states. And I tell this to people outside of California: if we can be this effective in a state that some of you think somehow is a deep blue nightmare, and that's not a political comment, that's just the way that's what their view of California is, then certainly within your state, you can come up with at least as good a result, if not a better result. However, you have to invest resources, you have to invest time, you have to invest focus. And I think that's something that, as much as we're ahead of that game, I think Arizona is fast coming up on us as a close second. Again, exigent circumstances will, kind of lights a fire under everyone, and they have some of those in regard to water as well. But I guess that's my final comment here in the minute, that, yeah, we have all these problems, but we have the capability, because we've proven it, to do the solution. So if we can take what we've been doing and just scale it up a little bit by following the same principles, I think we can continue to meet all of these challenges and continue to have a game that prospers. We know that the business is probably booming in 2020, at the opening of 2024, greater than any time, probably more golfers and more interest. So the next big challenge I'll just throw out, I got to finish with a challenge, is that in urban areas, with the cost of land, the cost of construction, how are we going to accommodate all that interest if we don't have the capacity to build more golf courses where people live? Thus, why Kevin Fitzgerald and I work so doggedly with so many communities that want to save their little municipal golf courses, particularly the developmental ones, where we all apply our Grow the Game programs, because we can ill afford to lose those, because at some point we will max out. When you can't get a tee time, and by the way, that's the #1 complaint in every municipal system that I know of in Southern California. The system's rigged because I can't get a tee time. The system is not rigged. It's just that there are lots and lots of people looking for each of those tee times, which makes it very difficult to get them. So I guess the good news is that don't pay all that much attention to the bad news. That's just to incite action and focus. The reality is, if we do that, we can solve our problems. And with that, I'll say that's my kind of a combination of the holiday message and the Happy New Year message. And I'm sure something will happen in the next couple of weeks that'll cause me to go back to being an alarmist. But with that, again, thanks for having me. There is a pressure at being, as Nikki pointed out at the beginning, the most frequent guest. And that pressure is, boy, how do you keep it interesting when they have you on every month? I hope I kept it interesting today, and I hope I can keep it interesting into the future. Thanks for having me.
Great, thank you, Craig. And Craig, we do have one. Let's see if we can, if you don't mind. This is one case where the questions are quick, but the answers take time. Why have we not committed, this would be the state of California, more resources to making water storage facilities? And how far are we behind in this? From Stephen Doe. Stephen, thanks for the question.
Yeah, well, I take a little issue with the premise. I think, the site's reservoirs moving forward and everything and that, but I would say that because of what I discussed at the beginning, with sort of the structures we used at the above surface reservoir, which worked very well for California as long as we had a consistent snowpack that melted slowly into water, and then we could convey the water from north to south and even use some of it in the north, that we're having to invest in different kinds of storage. It may not look like a reservoir, but there are enormous reservoirs under the ground called aquifers, and we're investing a lot of resources. I mean, right here where I'm sitting in Los Angeles County, billions are being spent to recharge aquifers. The taxpayers of Los Angeles County tax themselves, the property owners, to create a stormwater capture and replenishment. So to take some of, you always hear the rain falls and it flows out to the ocean. Well, we're capturing some of it, building the infrastructure. Potable reuse is another way of storing. The truth of the matter is, on the storage, and if you read the headlines this week, we're in an El Nino, and as much rain has fallen, a little snow fell earlier this week, we're in a snow drought. So the precipitation we get, even when it's above average, the snowpack is below average. And over time, the climatologists tell us that's going to be less and less as the average mean temperature goes up in California, even as little as a half to a degree. So I take a little issue. We are doing that, but the problem with above storage reservoirs is that you have to have something to put into it. So we're morphing from one era to another era. Again, what's really significant for golf is I have absolute confidence that our engineering and we have the capability of doing these things. And I think I'd also noticed something I didn't point out in the other recitation. When the governor and I reported on this, came out with his conservation as a way of life, and it seemed to be way over the top and draconian. Well, the Legislative Analyst Office felt that way as well, and put out a document that said, "Whoa, this isn't going to work. It's too extreme." And again, to that comment, I would simply say that conservation is always going to be a tool in not only golf's toolbox, but all of our toolbox. But if it's the only tool, we fail as an economy and a civilization. And I would say the same thing with above surface reservoirs that are very expensive. If we put all of our eggs in that particular basket, we may discover that the basket is empty. So we're going to have to invest in these other things. The bottom line for golf is we are big ratepayers, and much of that expense goes not on the collective, but on ratepayers. So again, that drives up one of the key costs of golf. It's labor, it's water, at least in this part of the country, maybe not in Ohio. And so when that happens, that's something we need to take seriously. I hope I answered the question. The premise is a little off. And sometimes, and again, when you're listening to news and so forth, keep in mind a lot of people have very definite agendas when they put things out and they put out information. And you have to have a lot of background and knowledge to kind of figure out which agendas are which. And some of the agendas come from one side of the political aisle, and some come from the other side. And what I try to sift through is figure out what reality is and the facts are. And I would also give everyone confidence in this state, no matter what you may think, everything tends to move back towards the middle when it gets down to the brass tacks of what are the policies, where are we going to spend the money. So I would say that, and I'm encouraged that Governor Newsom, and I'm sure a lot of people, when I mentioned the name, kind of grimaced, but nonetheless, he's beginning to look more and more like Jerry Brown did, in the sense that he views his role as, yeah, the legislature can do all these things in posture and the rest of it, but my job is to run the state and balance budgets. And so I'm always Jerry Brown said the job of the California governor is to kind of paddle the boat down the middle of the river. And sometimes the current takes, you have to go against the current to the right and sometimes to the left. I'd suggest it's probably far more often to the right than the left, but he didn't want to say that. Gavin Newsom is starting to govern that way. Whether he talks that way is another matter, but he's tending to govern that way. I probably answered more than the question. But
What was the question again? I'm just kidding. Thank you, Craig.
I've learned that dealing with the media. If you don't like the question, just give them a filibuster and hope they forgot it, right?
And thank you, Steve, for asking. Again, we appreciate all of your insight. I think we're going to wrap up today, and please join us for the February chat on February 9th. Len?
Okay, thank you, Nikki. And thank you, Joe, Mike, and Craig, and of course, Steve and Bryce and Shelby for getting us on the air one more time. We've got a big football weekend ahead. So good luck to everybody. Half are going to win and half aren't. So but best on the way out. The Sony Open this weekend. And then, we just talked about it. Then golf's headed to California 3 weeks in a row, the American Express, the Farmers, and then the AT&T. And as Joe is experiencing, we have a big change in the AT&T this year, as it is now a signature event for the PGA Tour. So we'll see how all of that rolls out. So again, thank you everyone for the continued support. And we start year 5 now pretty much. And look forward, everybody look out for each other, take care of each other. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you in February.
Thank you.
Bye. Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.